Today, we're going to create this procedural copper metal material. Let's get started. I've set up a basic scene, so let's create a new material. Set the base color to a more brown tone. Increase the metallic value and reduce the roughness, but not all the way to 0. Next, for added detail, add a bump node and connect it to the normal input of the principled BSDF. Next, add a noise texture node to create surface variation. Press Ctrl plus T to automatically add the mapping and texture coordinate nodes. Then connect the noise texture to the height input of the bump node so it starts affecting the surface details. You won't see much detail immediately. That's because we need to increase the distance value to make the effect visible. Now reduce the distance value because we'll bring in the finer details by increasing the scale of the noise texture. Now let's add another noise texture. Layering multiple noise textures helps break up the surface and creates more natural, realistic detail instead of a flat, repetitive pattern. You can adjust the scale and roughness to control how fine or strong the texture appears. At this stage, you might already be getting a nice copper look, so feel free to stop here if you're happy with the result. But if you want even more control and realism, the next step is to add color ramps. These will help us control the contrast and distribution of the details, letting us decide where the surface appears smoother, rougher, brighter, or darker. Now you can start to see the details coming through much more clearly. The surface doesn't look flat anymore, and the variation is beginning to feel more natural and realistic. At this stage, I'm going to spend some time adjusting the color ramps to refine the contrast and control how these details appear across the material. By moving the sliders, you can decide which areas look smoother, rougher, brighter, or darker. Feel free to pause here and experiment with different ramp positions and values until you find something that looks good to you. There's no single correct setting. It really depends on the style and realism you're aiming for. Small adjustments can make a big difference in how the copper surface feels. Once you're happy with the look, take this same setup and connect it to the roughness as well. This will allow the surface variation to influence how light reflects off the material, making it feel more believable and physically realistic.